Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we have Paul McCann from McCann Commercial, and Paul has gone through a number of iterations to get to commercial real estate. So Paul, it's great to have you, and I'd love to hear your many adventures to getting to commercial real estate.
Typical commercial real estate. Phone's ringing. Hey, how are you, Bruce? Good to talk to you. Happy to be here.
You started out. Where are you from, actually?
So I was born in Daly City, raised Park Merced, and then my dad was vice principal at Jefferson High School there in Daly City. And so after I was born, it was the second kid, so we moved to Moran, grew up in Corte Madera.
Oh, wow.
And then my other brother came along. Went to high school in San Francisco at St. Ignatius.
Oh, yeah.
My dad went there, my grandpa went there, so I was they shipped me off at 6:30 in the morning because he was the vice principal. He had to open up his doors. So I was usually there at the same time that janitor was opening the front doors in the fog, going, "What am I doing here?" You know. But so that was the start of the.
You guys go to St. Ignatius too?
What? Yeah.
Your kids go to St. Ignatius?
No, yeah, wouldn't. He got in, but I was like, Hillsdale down in San Mateo is a perfectly great school, and
oh yeah.
Good, so
that's great. Okay,
we missed that fourth generation thing, but yeah. So grew up, then high school, college down in Santa Clara, kind of a Bay Area kid, and then did a little bit of traveling in Guatemala, and then went on a jet program to teach English in Japan for a few years, and it was and then made my way back to San Francisco and went to law school at night and taught in the therapeutic day school in San Mateo County. At TDS, it's like kids that couldn't make it in the main high schools. They it's a program. They're mild to moderate behavioral problems, but did that for a couple of years and went to law school at night. And with kind of a focus for real estate, we had Roger Bernhardt, who wrote a lot of the rules for management and property and a lot of the leases and stuff. And worked for Nevin and Absalom, Ed Nevin, Mike Nevin's brother, and then went up and worked for Witherspoon Kelly in Spokane, where my wife's family's from, for a bit.
And, oh wow! Clear to Spokane. Wow.
Yeah. So she's a teacher, and her whole family's up there in Spokane. And so got to be a 2L intern up there at the oldest firm in the state. Great experience. And came back, took the bar a few times, and then found Neil Kelly was working, a friend of my parents, and he said, I tried commercial real estate, and all the things that I learned in law school about property kind of started coming into play. And Mark Ritchie and Ritchie Commercial gave me a shot, and then I worked there for 2003, maybe 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
And then opened my own shop like yourself. Just got some nice clients and managed some commercial properties, a few residential properties, and then still do office leasing. Dave Braun and Will Thatcher were my mentors that helped me partner and get this start going. And during COVID, they kind of let me go and, spread my wings. And but I can call them anytime, and they keep me on track and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so you went out on your own during COVID. You started doing some property management, and you've been kind of doing that since, right?
Yeah. So property management, kept it nice and steady. I treated myself like an essential worker, and I came to 109 Geary here every day. I saw the downtown boarded up. It was myself and the lawyer in the building. We're the only ones on the street, and the post lady, Roxy. That was just the three of us.
Wow. And so what's your kind of prediction, given that you're kind of in the middle of COVID. You're coming out of COVID. You're still doing some office leasing. What's your thoughts about San Francisco and the office leasing world?
I think that we've hit the bottom and we're coming back. People are coming to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I've noticed people tend to, like, if you go in the Jackson Square area and downtown, especially Tuesday and Wednesday, a lot of outdoor cafe meetings, a lot of business talk. Even the bartenders, at the local establishment, they'll tell you, certain shifts are better than others. Monday's a little bit quiet, but the evening crowds, the kids are starting to hang out. Nightlife's coming back. There's been some conventions, not as much as they used to be. AI money and investment is allowing tenants to come back into the market, and they're taking space. A lot of the sublease space is starting to roll or be subleased and stuff. So that hard kind of 37% vacancy rate, it's only going to go back the other way now, I think. Buildings have changed hands now at $300 a square foot of where they were at 600, up to 1,000, Union Square. So everybody's kind of waking up to that new reality until the game starts again. And then if people got low cost basis, they don't need the rents to justify the cost of the building that they had, and people will come back. And it's weird to see rents go up and down now that I've seen a cycle or two. You're like, this was a long time ago, and and the owners,
2000, or back to the early 2000s.
Yeah, the owners are like, you're kind of a disservice. You're like, well, my goal is to just fill up the space. There's no point in leaving it empty. It's the standard shorter leases, 2 to 3 year leases. Try not to give too many options, or if you're a tenant, get some options. But with the idea that it's going to tick back up, the rents are going to come back up because the cost of running the building and inflation, those aren't going down. So, everybody has to move together. It's going to go up in price.
Are you running into the typical insurance problems that everybody else is?
So the ever expanding the residential portfolio that I have, I think you get those little postcards. Somebody sent a drone over your building and there's a shadow from a tree. So there's those little headaches. I haven't experienced no insurance. I did speak to a guy in Portland this morning, and his family, they're like the next generation. I think it was the fathers or the grandfathers bought the building around the corner. And, they were talking about dropping their earthquake insurance because at this point, it's just not worth the cost.
Right. It's so expensive.
Yeah. And rent, you probably need it more now,
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, they were a lot of people. I've heard from a lot of people this vacancy tax you have on retail space, and it goes on your property tax, and it has a doubling and tripling effect. That's it's having the desired effect where people are like, hey, we want to sell our property or get somebody in there or lease it somehow. So that, whether you agree with it or not, the policy is having its desired effect to get absentee owners to move on things.
How much is that vacancy tax?
Geez, so we're selling a building on Paul Avenue, like an old liquor store with 3 apartments on top.
Right.
Could have sworn it was going to go from 8,000 to like 14,000 or something like that. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's it's a incentive for people to rent it out or at least, but I don't think it's very kind. Like owners are doing their best. Retail's it takes so much to go into a space. The TIs.
Yeah, it seems sort of counterintuitive that you you want the space leased out, but then they're going to tax you if it's left vacant, but there's no market to lease it out. So, it's kind of like, hey, you're killing us.
There's there's got to be a reasonable answer, but if you make a loophole, everybody's going to drive through it. So, but I don't know the answer. Or it's a good time for people to try new businesses, nonprofits. If they can, somehow.
That's true. Just get anybody in there to avoid the tax, right?
Right. Hey, the Cub Scouts use it twice a month. I charge them $160 or whatever.
Right. Just to avoid the tax, just to get somebody in there. Yeah.
In Fiesta Gardens in San Mateo, we built a cabana. There's 600 people in the HOA, and I just said this because we had homecoming there. It's only been in use for a couple months, but it's a nice 2,000 square foot space. Everybody chipped in. Every house chipped in 2,400, and all of a sudden you start brainstorming ideas for the space. Like, old timers come here and play Pedro, or Cub Scouts. Like, space wants to be used. People don't want to sit at home. People want to interact. Like, you got to introduce the people that are be able to bring people together. And
so even if you can show that the space is being leased out for 2 cents a square foot, it still will reduce that tax, right?
I think that's the loophole you're talking about. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So get anybody in there at any price just to kind of avoid tax, which
kind of the cans.
In some ways that's probably good. It brings some activity to the town space.
Eyeballs, you go to West Portal and you got, your Tutu school next to your Kumon, next to, that means the parents are there and then they're going to go to Walgreens or maybe go to the portals. Like, it's good for the whole area,
Right. It's all putting it together. Are restaurants starting to show up again downtown?
I just heard on the radio somebody talking about 10 to 12 new restaurants in the area coming online in the next 3 to 6 months or something like that. Maybe it's a restaurant and stores, but they were talking about Union Square. I don't know if it was London Breed during the election or one of their proxies or something like that. But it seems like the area is holding and coming back.
Yeah. Well, there's certainly nationally there's a movement of more retail happening, but I don't know if that is reflected at all in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, we're on Grant and Geary, so it's pretty high-end stuff up there. Fanny. A lot of people make appointments, and if people make appointments, they tend to buy stuff. And then there's a little rope outside for the next group, so creates need. So the high end, the ultra end, they're doing fine, and people like to go to the store and
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Stuff. It's the places where I shop or you shop,
Right.
That middle retail. But I think those are the stores that need the most to bring the people back.
Yeah, you got the smoke shops and all the other kind of things probably still happening. The lower end retail stuff is probably okay, and the high end retail is okay, but that middle section, the board and barrels and all those other kind of mid range people are probably not happy.
Yeah. So it's coming. Office space, same kind of thing. I just I don't have the data on it, but it seems like people are always back to work. We don't know how much of a mandate it is, or people just want to go back to work, or if there's enough pressure, layoffs, things like that. People are, I'm going back to the office. So all that helps when they do come here, and then they eat the restaurants and stuff and brings the city back. But on the peninsula, I was Greenspan. I was talking to Drew Greenspan, and he's saying his retail is leasing up really well, and he has low vacancy rate. And you go around in the afternoons during the week, these downtown suburbs, San Mateo, San Carlos, Palo Alto, there's a lot of people out. Maybe people have shifted to the suburbs and are working from there. And, who knows?
No, that's true. That we just had a meeting with the city of San Mateo, with the San Mateo manager, the city manager, and the assistant city manager, and several retail brokers. And there was definitely a consensus that retail was basically hot in the peninsula area.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of that also. So anyway, it was interesting to see that particular market, the office market down here still seems to be very dead, but the retail market,
I know Prop T passed, but I don't see anybody putting up a 10-story office building anytime soon. With that said, Westlake did a great job at 520S South El Camino.
Oh yeah.
But they had to ride out a couple of years of nothing.
Oh yeah.
But those new tenants, they don't want old 1970s, 80s fixtures and elevators. These new
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was their timing. They unfortunately didn't get their project done pre-pandemic, which would have been great. But they brought Ernst & Young in there, and they took up a big chunk of space. And I don't know how much they had to write down on that, but I in the end I heard that the rents were like $7 square foot triple net.
And I used to lease that building out at $350. A couple years before that. Yeah, but I mean, great long-term tenants. They all diaspored to around San Mateo, but there was enough capacity to absorb them, and
it's good. Well, this is a great conversation. What if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Paul? How would they do that?
Yeah, I always pick up my phone, 415-699-8640. Or email me at pmccann@McCann Commercial, and McCann is MCCANN, 2 C's, 2 N's. Or you can find me online, www.mccanncommercial.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So is it just you there?
Yeah, I'm just a solo shop here, and then and all my vendors, and people hang their license under me, Dave Braun, but he's like a broker like yourself. He doesn't have to. He just likes the convenience. And PJ Cosgrove, who's worked for JLL, he does a couple deals here and there. Those are agents that are under my umbrella. But they're more experienced than I am, so I give them wide range.
I understand completely.
Yeah.
Well, great to talk to you. I hope down the road that we can do some transactions together.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Bruce. And have a beautiful day. Cheers. Thanks.
We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.